Hi, everyone. I'm super excited for this conversation today. I think we all have sort of three unique roles because we all, I think, identify as creators but work for a company. How did you guys get started making videos? Were you doing this before your full-time roles?
Sure. How did I got started making videos hi, everybody. So I make a YouTube channel for Morning Brew, which is a company that works right down the street. And I got started by making videos for them. I learned video editing in college. And are you good? We're good. I learned video editing in college, and then Morning Brew was hiring for a podcast at the time. That was going to be like if The Daily Show was about business. And then I made a video in my college apartment right after I graduated. And they were like, hey, we don't make video. Do you want to just come here and do this for us? And that was before I uploaded to TikTok or Instagram or anything like that. So they kind of just hired me out of the blue. And then that was kind of how I got my start in this very niche profession. So, yeah.
I feel like there's only niche ways to get into this. I had a very similar story where my first interaction with corporate America was, as probably most people, is interviews in college for my first job and whatnot. And my first observation was just the way people are interacting in corporate America feels like very counter to the rest of life. And I just found it so funny. So I started posting videos to my friends on Snapchat and did that for 8 years, having what I learned later was the highest engagement you could possibly have from 100 people. And then TikTok started happening and the algorithmic trends in social media. So turns out, more people thought it was funny. And when that started happening, Redpoint, which is the VC I work for now and do this full time for, found me through TikTok among a bunch of other, corporate comedy type people and hired me to come on.
What's the purpose of your videos? Is it to be funny? Is it educational? Is it for business leads? How do you think about what you do?
So for us, we have, obviously, I think there's a lot of VCs or VC adjacent, VC curious people in the crowd. So obviously our general strategy and objective is to appeal to founders and sort of nodes within the greater community that we care about, and mostly through providing levity to an industry that is otherwise, people kind of take themselves very seriously. So there's a lot of that to be had, I would say.
Yeah, purpose is a big word for some of the things that I make. I don't know. We've made YouTube episodes because that's most of what we do now, or at least what I focus on. And there are some, it kind of is like a video by video basis. On some videos, I'm like, the purpose of this is to educate people on this certain topic that they don't know about. And then there are other videos, I made one about Zen. And I remember finishing it and being like, what was the purpose of this video?
That was just for you, Dan.
And I think I still rewatch it and I go, I don't think there's a whole lot of purpose to this one. So it's kind of a video by video basis, but education is definitely a part of it. And then sometimes it's entertainment, and it can kind of the pendulum can kind of swing on a video by video basis. We're making one about Cybertrucks right now, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of purpose to that one, but fun to make.
How do you come up with ideas?
Legally, ideas. I don't know. It'll be a mix of consuming a lot of business news, and being a part of Morning Brew. Everybody kind of stays plugged into what's happening. A lot of our newsletter writers, we work with them. And we kind of, at least for YouTube videos, as somebody who used to be cracked out on TikTok and making one every single day, that was whatever the biggest story of the day is, we're going to make a video about that. And now that we're kind of focusing on longer form stuff, it's more zeitgeisty, what people have been talking about over the past few months. Like Zen, exactly. I'm sure there's Zen in a lot of mouths in this audience today. And yeah, so it's more of broader zeitgeist, things that have been a continuous conversation over the last few months that we think people would still be interested to hear about.
Do you have a writer's room?
Morning Brew doesn't necessarily have the budget allocated to my team for a writer's room per se. But a writer's desk is kind of what we operate on.
Yeah, I mean, that's
And
been
for
like
people who haven't seen your videos, like give a flavor of the stuff that you
yeah.
do.
So I guess the you could go to Redpoint's Instagram and check out what we do, but it's a lot of like satire, sketch comedy that is impersonating different scenarios that VCs
You did
commonly
a good
find
one on
themselves.
like VC birthday parties for kids.
Yeah, VCs planning a birthday party for kids. I mean, they've evolved since. It's 2 years on the job. Like, you sort of have to go beyond the normal conversations that a VC has. But it's, we did one when the market turned that was sort of comparing about how VCs were before the market turned and then after. And the VC before was like, grow, 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 grow at all costs. And then the VC after is like, we don't really need a marketing department, right? So it's like things like that. And I forget the original. Oh, how do you come up with ideas? Is we have a writer's room, so I meet weekly, and it's sort of like taken on different forms. But all the things we've sort of experimented with, this has sort of been a consistent part of my process, which is weekly we're going to get in a room for an hour, and we're going to force ourselves to come up with new ideas. And it could be anything from topical things. There's no shortage of things that are happening in the news that are worth poking fun at, or what did Elon do this week, or what have you.
Or this minute.
Yeah, or this minute. But I think that timeless stuff also is just, it's easier. You can sort of plan for it more, and so we try to just, get creative, and me and two, it's taken on, like I said, different forms, but try to pick someone from the actual industry, so someone that's actually a founder, friend of mine that helps create some of this stuff, and then someone with more of like a writing background. And the three of us come together, and that's how it goes.
Are you both full-time with content in your roles, or do you have other side hustles at your jobs that you do?
I got side hustles. As somebody who works in media, job security is not something I have faith in. But sorry for the nervous laughs. But yeah, I mean, that's my full-time thing. Yeah, I've been at Morning Brew for like the last 3 years.
Yeah, I would do full-time as well. I think the thing, that's sort of evolved over time is like, we had to figure out how to do the video thing first. Now that that's figured out, I've sort of expanded my role to own greater content. So we have a podcast about entrepreneurship called The Logan Bartlett Show that does, interviews the best CEOs. We have an AI podcast called Unsupervised Learning. You see how I'm subtly plugging all of our material. That does AI conversations with founders. And so so it's sort of expanded beyond just the satire videos now, but and then all the overhead that comes along with that too.
And I learned backstage you run the all hands meetings. That's a very important
that's
job.
That's a very
also.
important part of my job as well. Yeah, I plan all of our all hands.
Can you give us a little behind the scenes of how kind of the production process? So you have the writer's room, you have your writer's desk. Do you have to get approvals for stuff? I mean, especially for you, you have to walk sort of a fine line, I imagine, with what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be super appreciative for the autonomy, I guess, that they've given me to post what I want or what I think is funny and fly maybe sometimes too close to the sun, but then kind of come back. Like, I think that's a lot of the essence of my job is knowing what not to post, and in addition to knowing what's going to resonate and what's going to be funny and like just edgy enough. So not a ton of approval. There's probably 1 in every 5 things I publish. I don't know, Dan, what this looks for you, but like, are you running individual jokes, or like, I think if I'm a little bit skeptical about a video, I'll send it up the chain and be like, hey guys, these are the things I'm a little bit worried about. And as long as I get the thumbs up, then I'm usually posting.
Yeah, our approval process is probably more lax than it should be. But we.
But do you think it sort of has to be for it to work?
Yeah, to a degree, yeah. I think that if we didn't have the freedom to make an episode about Zyn that my boss found out about after we uploaded it, then it wouldn't be. I feel like a lot of media companies, what you kind of want to mimic when working with a creator is the feeling that they are posting on their own, which is what people on social media gravitate towards, right? Is people being authentic and posting what they want to make and create. And Morning Brew created that opportunity for me by pretty much giving me their Instagram and YouTube and being like, do whatever you want with it. And then in the few cases where we've had to like take a step back, maybe after we posted something or if I needed something for approval, we have. But it's a good trust that I think has been created there by just kind of like letting us do our thing and almost having like an understanding of when we would be going too far with something, because you should know, like when.
But people will tell you. That's the thing. Like whenever we've gone too far, like we're very quick to learn where the line is.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you deleted any videos?
Have I You wouldn't know. No, I haven't deleted any videos, and they've all gone incredibly viral.
I'll admit I've deleted videos, but not because they broke any sort of like approvals rules, but more out of my own embarrassment. Like we've made some really when I say like we've experimented, it's like we made a parody video. I don't know if you remember this story, but when Akon got into some like crypto trouble, so we made a parody video of his Sorry, the Sorry song that he sings,
right?
But like him apologizing about the crypto scandal. Like I took that down, I'm taking that down.
Probably smart.
Now would be the best time to pull that video up on the screens to play it for everybody.
Yeah, no, I'm worried I didn't actually take it down.
What's the production process? I mean, are some of these TikTok videos super short? I mean, YouTube is more involved, but how long does it roughly take to film and script and do everything?
For YouTube, and by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, there's a YouTube channel I run called Good Work, which is under the Morning Brew brand. And the way that we make it is we pick a topic, and for about 2 weeks, we research and interview people, and then we combine all of our research documents and all of our interview polls into a script that we then, go through 2 to 3 rounds of writing on, and then we go and film it. The way that we film our videos is we do the same monologue in 4 different locations, usually around this building, and then we chop them all together. And the editing process takes about a week, so it's usually like a 3-week process. And then I make all the graphics for it, and that takes a few days. And then we do an audio pass, and so usually it's about a 3 week process to get a YouTube video.
And how many videos do you do 1 video a week, or
for YouTube?
How much do you publish? Yeah,
we do 1 YouTube video every 3 weeks, and then 3 shorts or TikToks or Instagram Reels every week. Yeah.
Our production process, I mean, on the podcasting side, we try to book, we're typically going after like pretty high profile guests. So we're taking their time, we're accommodating their schedule or their location. Luckily most people fly by San Francisco or New York, and where we have studios in both. For the short form stuff, it's anything from, I started working with a camera guy recently, and that's just honestly to speed up the process, and he takes all of the edits and stuff like that, but it's pretty simple. Like our stuff is not overly sophisticated.
How do you measure success, and how do your companies measure success? Is it views? Is it
vibes?
Yes. But is that how you measure the success? Or
no. I mean, I think at the beginning
that was the most VC answer you could have given. We measure success based off of vibes here at Redpoint.
Yeah, we have a special algorithm to quantify the vibes based on the video. No, I mean, it wasn't, to be completely honest, like year 1, we hardly even talked about measuring success because we were just experimenting and figuring out what people actually liked. Like going back to some of those videos that I made that were just like really, now we know what resonates and what doesn't, so we can be a little bit more scientific. We definitely have our goals. We have quantitative goals around subscribers, follower growth, view count, but I would say...
Do you measure like leads, like startups coming to you via it?
Yeah, I had to learn quickly on the job that the Instagram DM leads were not the highest quality, as it turned out. And they wouldn't tell me about it. I would just keep sending the investors deals. I'd be like, guys, and look at this new soda pop brand just reached out, and they were like, thanks, But I will say in 2023 or 2024, sorry, as I'm putting together my end of year stuff, for the first time we had a founder that we actually invested in that found out about Redpoint through Instagram, which was for me kind of a big deal. So we're tracking sort of down funnel anytime we bring a founder on. We're like, hey, by the way, how'd you first hear about Redpoint? That's an important sort of qualitative metric. We track a lot of the feedback that we get at conferences, online. XYZ person emails investor saying, hey, love what you guys are doing. People are pretty vocal about it. And then, like I said, the metric stuff we're pretty rigorous about. But I think that's really more for me to have a North Star to, at the beginning of the year, say we're going for 100,000 followers, or we're going for 5,000 views on YouTube, because that helps you sort of build, stay sane in the day-to-day of the swings.
In terms of success for us, it used to be for me just follower count and subscriber count. And then I saw how our channel grew, and then I realized that follower count is not nearly as important as the quality of what you put out and the audience that you've developed and how close they feel to you. We got 150,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel in 2 weeks because we had one short get 50 million views. And that has never happened again. And none of those viewers came back to our long form video, which for us is the most important thing, right? So success for us, when you upload to YouTube, it tells you how well a video has done as compared to other videos. It gives you like a 1 out of 10 and like little it's like it's like a casino. They give you like a little confetti too, and that like I've learned do not listen to that, because if you just gun for like viral success, you're gonna end up making like Mr. Beast internet slop, and you're just gonna end up copying what a lot of other people have already done. Not that he's bad, but like there's a million people on YouTube that are copying him. So for us, like it sounds very, I'm giving you like the art school answer right now, which is not the money-making answer, but it's like if we can come up with a video that stands on its own, is unique, and our audience really likes, as our audience grows, to me, that's like that's what success means.
Yeah, it's something that Dan said that I'll just add to is like what audience you're building really matters, and maybe just an anecdote from us, like that super matter. We're a venture capital fund. Like I can cheer as much as I want about getting 100K views on a video or something, but if it was about, once in the early days of experimentation, I was sort of like running with the idea of my own show, interviewing actually creators and about their sort of gig. And I interviewed this magician. His name is Jason Ladany. He's actually crushes on TikTok if anyone follows him. He's like a master card cheat and magician. And the premise of the show was to have him on, interview him, and then have them teach me a trick. And this thing went like mega viral in the magician corner of the internet. And I'm like, guys, like we're crushing. And they're like, these are magic nerds that now follow Redpoint Ventures. Like, what the fuck does that even do for us? And so I'm like, all right, well, so maybe we don't interview, you know what I mean? So what audience you build really matters.
And I'm sure you guys get this question all the time. You've built your own brands within this. So what are sort of the pros and cons of doing this in-house at a company versus just going independent on your own?
Dental is nice. I think if you work at a company that lets you have creative freedom, that's also very nice. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are comedians that do it independently, and they have a lot of success. I also have a lot of friends who do this independently, and you get to a point where maybe you have one joke that works really well, and you got a following off of that, but that works for maybe 2 years, and then brands all of a sudden are like, we don't want to hear the whatever impression anymore. And it makes it really hard to operate independently. So, and there are certain, there are a lot of things that come with working for a company that I don't want to do. So it's a give and take. But I personally, knowing me, I liked the security of working at a place where I'm like, okay, I didn't join Morning Brew until it got bought by Business Insider, because at first I was like, you're a sketchy startup, I don't know who you guys are, I'm not doing that. And then they got bought, and I was like, nice, like, okay, like we have parents now, that's great. And then I joined. So that personally for me, I like the security, and I'm willing to go through some of the sacrifices that you have to do in order to work with a company.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that obviously I've thought about a lot, and like, it's definitely tempting to think about the independent journey. I mean, at the end of the day, you're sort of gaining followers for this entity, and the equity isn't really going to you. So you're like, well, why can't I just do this on my own? The reality is, I think, one, I'm the type of person where outside constraints actually really help me in my creative process. So like being able to be like, okay, you can only make videos about, I think I'd be hard pressed to just go find a topic and then just go create freely versus being like, we're making jokes about the relationship between VCs and founders and things that fall within that. So that's number one. Obviously, the stability is really important too. And then, yeah, I think it's kind of like a lonely path too. Not to say that I would never do it or consider it in the future. Like I think if you can get to a point where especially if you can build a team around yourself, like that's awesome. And people have done that. Like there's definitely people in our industry that have done that. But I think that's really, really hard to get to. Now I have this team, I have this writer's room that I get to meet with, I have these cool, investors that I get to talk about the future of tech with, I get to meet all these cool founders, like my network, my LinkedIn followers, have,
It's all going up.
which is really what this all is about.
Yeah, we're just here for LinkedIn clout, everybody.
What's your advice to companies or people in the room who maybe don't have a TikTok strategy or social media strategy who are interested in it but might have gatekeepers or concerns and about kind of how to go about it?
I mean, I would say, so probably like 10% of my job is talking to our portfolio and helping them and advising them. So we invest in software businesses primarily. And, I think not all gatekeeping is necessarily bad. I think it's important to like critically think about who and where your audience is. And if they're not on TikTok, this is not like a box checking exercise. Like you're like competing with some of the best entertainers, creators, comedians, Jon Stewart. Like you're competing at like the highest level for attention. So don't do it unless you have sort of conviction that your audience is out there and you have something to speak to them. If you're a procurement business, you don't need to be like be on TikTok.
Yeah, there are people who are great at TikTok, and you're not going to... I saw, like, Jason Derulo do a backflip off a Maserati on TikTok, and I'm like, well, there's no competing with that. Yeah. How do you... he's the GOAT. The only advice that I would give is the same advice that I think we've all been talking about, which is, like, if you hire somebody who is good at what they do and they've done it independently, a lot of the times, like, creators, we're doing this in their free time already. And if that's what worked for them, just let them do that. And if there needs to be an approval process, sure, but for the most part, it's that individual creativity that you look for, and it's not that you want to like make that part of your brand. It's that you want to work together with them, and so that would be my biggest advice to brands: is to do. Everybody wants the Duolingo owl. Yeah. Everybody wants the Duolingo owl, but like you gotta that's because their heads of social media just did what they thought was funny, and it was great for that brand. So yeah.
We're at the end of year prediction time. So what are your predictions / what is there any big focuses for you guys next year?
Man, big predictions? I don't know. I do think it's funny how we came to this panel being like, we like to make fun of the business world and how like corny it can be. And we're at the most business possible event doing a panel where we're like, this is very business coded right now. We would make fun of this eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, well, that wasn't a prediction though.
That wasn't a prediction. That was me trying to kill time. I don't know. Okay, I will say, I love YouTube. I've become obsessed with over the last, 2 years.
So is short form out? Are we getting burnt out on short form?
No. But I think YouTube is a great place for people to start building. My YouTube algorithm recently I sound like Gary Vee. My YouTube algorithm recently, though, has been giving me a lot more videos that have, 50 views from really underrated creators. And that I think is sick. And I don't think we would have had that opportunity if the YouTube algorithm wasn't promoting because Mr. Beast pretty much found a formula and he was like, I'm going to go win YouTube now. And he did. But now the platform has allowed other people to have more of a voice. And I really do think that we're just going to see more success off of YouTube from people that we don't know yet. So,
yeah. I would say somewhere we're focusing on next year is probably more on LinkedIn.
Are you doing video on LinkedIn?
We're doing video on LinkedIn.
They really want video on LinkedIn.
They do. Yeah, they've made that clear. They keep sending me swag, and I'm like, guys, I'm not going to make more videos.
What kind of swag? Anything good?
I got a hoodie with a creator economy LinkedIn on the back, and I'm like, where am I going to wear this to?
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it was good quality, too.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I do think we're going to focus on it next year. LinkedIn has this edge on the other platforms for us, at least, where when a video goes viral, let's say a video does 500,000 views, I can literally click into the analytics and see 10% were founders, 8% were salespeople, 1% was my mom, and that's fine. But you can break down the analytics in a way that Twitter, you could never even come close to doing that. I can't even tell half the fucking people on Twitter. I don't know who they are. And then Instagram is like people primarily are using for personal purposes. So LinkedIn is going to be a focus for us for sure.
Well, thank you both so much. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you guys for
everybody.
having us.